It's finally happened. Lost Ark is finally here with us in the West, and a lot of people have started their journey in Arcasia. Now, are you one of those players that has just reached level 50 on their first character, and you've just unlocked the endgame, you've quested all the way up into North Vern, all of the endgame is unlocking for you, and now you're one of those people, I was one of them as well, that was completely overwhelmed by everything that the game's throwing at you, and you have no idea where to start? Well, then this video is made exactly for you, because I am going to try to give you a clear plan of what to do, what the daily things that you should be doing in Lost Ark are going to be to start you off on gearing up and getting you through that first tier, as they call it, tier 1 of the end game. And then into tier 2, tier 3, we're only going to be focusing on the first part on tier 1 for this video, but that is what this is going to be about. I am Corax, I am a lifelong gamer, I love making guides for games, so I could not just not make any guides for Lost Ark, you know. I also stream on Twitch, so if you have any questions or you want to come say hi, feel free to do that as well. And that's enough intro for now. Let's get straight into the important parts of the video. Let's go. Now, before you are actually able to do anything that I'm going to be mentioning in this quest, I've already said it in the introduction, it is important that you are going to have to level your character to level 50 and finish the quest line in North Vern. When you've completed your quest line in North Vern, all of the endgame up to that point will be unlocked. There will still be more story quests coming. You will still be able to go to the next continent called Shoeshire, but it is important that the endgame things that unlock at that point, that you start making them a part of your daily routine. Continue on with the quest later, like let's say you get there and you unlock the things and you just do your daily quests that I'm going to be describing in just a little bit. And then when you're done with all of that, go back to continuing pushing the storyline, because it is important that you do continue the storyline and finish that as well to unlock other things and to unlock further progression down the line. But do not miss out on these activities that you can do on a daily basis, because every day that you're missing out on them are basically materials that you have wasted or that you did not get that you could have very easily gotten, which is going to help you gear up, get better gear, and start pushing further and further into that end game. I'm now going to give you a quick and easy list with things that you can do on the daily to make sure that you're not missing out on important materials. Now, the first thing that you should do every day are your 2 chaos dungeons. Do the highest level that you are permitted to do with your current gear to get the maximum out of them. The higher you go, you can see on the left here that there's level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4, and each of these are hidden behind a required item level. So when you're first starting off, you're going to have 250 item level from just doing your questing and finishing your quest line, and you're gonna have to start off at chaos dungeon level 1. And on level 1 you will be able to drop an entire set of gear, like you can see right here. You're going to be able to drop a weapon, you're going to be able to drop all of your armor pieces, and then all of your jewelry pieces as well. These will all be item level 302, and they will basically be the starting point. They will be the gear that you will start working on to level up further and further, because what also happens in these chaos dungeons is you can see that they drop destruction stone fragments, which will be the things that you need to upgrade your weapons, and they also drop the guardian stone fragments, which you will need to upgrade all of your armor pieces. Next to that, it also drops the harmony leap stones, which are again also needed to upgrade your gear. And you all can also get some ability stones, and more importantly, a lot of harmony shards, because harmony shards are going to be playing a very pivotal role in your upgrading of your gear, because this can actually also become the bottleneck in upgrading your gear, which is why you will notice that Lost Ark will throw a myriad of things at you that will reward harmony shards. So basically, whenever you have an opportunity to grab some harmony shards, go for it, because you're going to need a lot of them. Now, I'm not going to go into the upgrading of the gear yet. We will be doing that later on in the video. For now, I'm just going to explain what the chaos dungeons are. In these chaos dungeons, what will happen is you'll be thrown into a chaos dungeon, and there will be a swarm, hordes upon hordes upon hordes of enemies will come at you. You will need to kill them all. You will then go to the next level, the next floor, In that next floor, again, waves and waves of enemies will come at you. There will be some elites, and eventually one boss will spawn that you will have to kill, and then you move on into the final level where you finish off the Chaos Dungeon. Again, that last level is just going to be another set of waves of enemies that you will need to kill all the way until your gauge goes up to 100%. Because once you reach 100%, you have finished. You will get all of the rewards associated with finishing the Chaos Dungeon, and you can leave or you can just queue up again. Now, you may have noticed that I talked about doing your 2 daily Chaos Dungeons, and this is because of the little thing you see down here, the Aura of Resonance. This thing will it's basically a gauge that will tell you you can do 2 Chaos Dungeons per day for full rewards. However, I said full rewards because if you do more than 2 a day, that doesn't mean that you will not be getting anything from them. If you keep doing Chaos Dungeons, what will start happening is you'll notice that the Perception Shards and the Disorder Crystals will start dropping. And these are actually going to be quite useful as well, because let's say that you're doing some upgrading and you notice, oh no, I don't have enough Harmony Shards, I just need a couple more. Or I need a couple more of the Guardian Stone Fragments, or a couple more of the Destruction Stone Fragments. Well, that is where the Perception Shards and Disorder Crystals will come in handy. Because what you can do is, if you've done a couple of those and you have stacked up some of these resources, what you do is you go to the vendor called the Exchange Chaos Dungeon Shard NPC, and you'll notice that she will be selling you a bunch of stuff for either Perception Shards, or on the next tab you can see that you can buy jewelry for Disorder Crystals. One of the big ones in here that I would try to make sure that I buy out every week are the Harmony Shard pouch. You can only buy 5 of these per week, and they do go for 180 Perception Shards per pop, but it is 1500 Harmony Shards per pocket. Times 5 is 7.5k. That is, especially in the earlier game, very, very noticeable. Like I also said, if you're lacking a couple of Destruction Stones, or you may be lacking a couple of Guardian Stones, you can also buy some of those, and you can also buy Perception Engraving recipe pouches from it with a maximum of 20 a week. So keep that in mind. If you are lacking in any of these resources, you can always just go into grinding Chaos Dungeons for a while. It's something very easy to do because it's not that hard content. You can very easily have some Netflix up on your second monitor, be grinding some Chaos Dungeons, get a bunch of Perception Shards, and buy out whatever you need to buy out. Or let's say, for example, that you've gotten really unlucky and you haven't dropped all of your jewelry pieces. You can take a look here and see what you need. Or what you can also do is, if you already have these jewelry pieces, but you're not entirely happy with either the engravings on them, or the quality on them, or the secondary stat on them, you can always grind up a bunch of these Disorder Crystals and just buy a new one, and hopefully it'll be better than the one you have. Now, keep in mind, this is something that you can do, and it is a way to sink time into the game, and it will eventually lead into some upgrades. However, that is not necessarily the most efficient thing to be doing. There are other things. We'll be talking about other activities that you can do that will help you gear up. Now, another thing about Chaos Dungeons is when you're going into these, make sure that you spec your build for AoE, because you'll be clearing out waves and waves and waves of monsters. You'll see a couple of elites and you'll see one boss, but there is nowhere near the need for single targets damage as much as you need AoE. So try to make your build as AoE hard as possible and you will be perfectly fine, because like I said, Chaos Dungeons definitely are not the hardest type of content. Now, the next thing that you are going to want to do on a daily basis is do your 2 Guardian raids. Well, I say 2 Guardian raids, but it means kill 2 bosses, because if you wipe or you fail, you will have to queue again and try again to kill the boss. You can only get credit for 2 kills per day, but you have an unlimited amount of tries in case something goes wrong and you don't kill it first time going in there. Now, these raids are actually a Monster Hunter style boss fights where you are dropped into an arena. You first have to find the boss, and then you'll have to fight it and eventually kill it. These fights are definitely a step up in difficulty from the Chaos Dungeons, and it's going to be important that you learn the attack patterns for the bosses. There are definitely guides out there on YouTube that you can look up to make sure that you know what mechanics the bosses do or what attack patterns they have. For these Guardian raids, I would strongly recommend that you go in with a single target build because, like I said, it's a single target fight. It's just a boss that you're fighting with boss mechanics. There are hardly any other mobs in there. There's a couple of stragglers around, but nothing important. So go for a pure single target build and try to nuke these bosses down as well as you can. Now from this, you'll notice that you will start receiving your jewelry drops. Well, on the first level of bosses, you'll notice that there will be blue items. If you go up a tier, it will be epic items. Go up another tier, they'll still be epic items. And then in the last tier of the first raid level, you will be getting the legendary items. And again, other things that drop here are again the destruction stones, the guardian stones, leap stones. All those upgrade materials also drop from here, but the main upgrades that you will be getting here will be your jewelry upgrades alongside some other currency. And there's also a chance of dropping ability stones, cards, or some books with engravings, and even some specific runes. Now the first three bosses, Urnil, Lumerus, and Icy Legoros, these are actually they are challenging. They're not super difficult. They're fun, they're interesting, they're difficult fights, but they're pretty okay. Once you do them a couple of times, you'll know the attack patterns, you'll know what to do and when to do it, and you'll be pretty fine. Now, however, this fourth boss, Virtus, is something else. He is definitely a step up in difficulty, and I actually recommend going in with a higher gear score than what is recommended or what you unlock, because it unlocks at 420, but this boss is quite unpredictable. He has attack patterns that are really hard to spot, and he has a couple of attacks that I haven't figured out yet how exactly they work. So yeah, I would strongly recommend going into this boss a little bit overgeared, and that seems to be the general consensus, because coming from the first three, going into this, you'll definitely feel the difference. Now, when you've killed two of the bosses, there's no longer a use of going in here, unless, of course, you want to practice the mechanics. However, you will not be receiving any additional loot. There's no system in here like there was with the Chaos Dungeons. If you go in here after killing two of them, you won't be receiving anything at all. Alright, and then after all of that hard work fighting all of those bosses, it's time to settle back into some of the easier stuff that will still bring in pretty big rewards. These are going to be your daily quests, and in Lost Ark, they are called Oooo's tasks. You can find it by pressing Alt-J, and this is the menu that will pop up. You'll see a bunch of daily quests here. You can see the tabs at the top. You have daily quests, you have weekly quests, reputation status, which I'll talk about in just a second, and then of course there's also some guild weeklies that you can do. For your daily quests, there's a list. There's 4 pages of daily quests that you can do. What I would strongly recommend doing is doing as many of them with harmony shards, because like I said earlier, harmony shards are potentially a little bit of a bottleneck. On every character, you can do 3 of these Ooooh tasks per day. And what you will also be getting is, when you complete these, you will be getting points towards your weekly roster mission. Now what this is basically, this is across all of your characters. For completing daily quests or weekly quests, you'll be getting points, and you have a week's time because it's on a weekly reset. You can see it down here. It resets at 11 every Thursday. You can build up points, and what you get if you fill up this entire gauge like you see that I have done this week, you get 180 of these Ooooh tokens, and these Ooooh tokens are things that you can trade in with a different vendor. It's an NPC, and that will give you in-game gold, which is then again useful to buy things on the marketplace and stuff like that. This is one of the vendors where you can turn in the Ooooh tokens. It's called Gold Shop, and you can see that you can either spend 80 of the tokens to get a hefty gold sack, you can spend 200 for a small save, or you can save up to 500 to get a large gold chest. Now, like you could see earlier in the other screen, I finished up to 70, and what I got 180 of them. So my plan is going to be, I'm going to check out what the large gold chest has to offer. At this point in time, I am not entirely sure which of the 3 options is the most efficient one, so I'm not going to tell you what to do here. Do what you want, or do some research on it on the internet. Do what you want to do. If you want to go for hefty gold sacks, go for it. If you want to save up for a large gold chest, go for it. Personally, I'm going to see what a large gold chest gives me, because there is that allure of that huge payout if you accidentally hit that giant gold bar, because that thing is worth 10,000 gold. Now, about these daily unit tasks, what you can do on every character, you can complete 3 of those. So what I recommend you doing is just look through this list, see what you need the most. A lot of the time for me, it's harmony crystals, so I basically try to pick out all the quests that reward harmony crystals, but sometimes you may end up having not enough leapstone, so you can grab one of those quests, or if you're at a point where you start needing some star's breath, you can do that. Basically, just choose what you think you need the most, but for me, it's harmony crystals most of the time. Those are your daily quests. Like I said, 3 of these per day per character. That almost sounded like a doctor's prescription, huh? And then here are your weekly quests. It's basically the same system. You can complete up to 3 of these per character per week and get the rewards that you see here. Again, pick what you need the most, and a lot of the time it's going to be the ones that give you a lot of harmony shards. And then something that you should definitely not be forgetting about is this little tab up here, the reputation status. All of those daily quests that you are doing, you're also gathering reputation for because you're doing them, and this will also give you some rewards, several points. For example, right here, I have done this daily quest sufficient times to reach the first level, and my reward is going to be 6,000 pirate coins, which is definitely a nice reward. So let's scoop that up, and you can see these are also very decent, hefty amounts of silver. So make sure that you're checking this reputation tab, and if you don't want to scroll through 11 pages to see which ones you've completed or not, just click the claim all button at the top. It's nice and shiny. Now you do notice that these things have a maximum level, so at some point it will become efficient to switch up the dailies that you're doing, because let's say, for example, you're doing this Plague Doctor one every day and you've done it all the way up to level 3, there's not going to be any extra more rewards that you're going to be able to grab after that. So it might be useful to swap to another one that you haven't done yet. But again, this kind of depends on the rewards that you will be getting. Now, another activity to keep an eye on, but this is not as much a daily thing, more like a weekly thing, are the Abyssal Dungeons. Now, be warned, because this is pretty difficult content. There is a huge step up coming from Guardian raids into these ones. They are quite challenging, they're quite hard, but they also have pretty good rewards. You might want to look up a guide for these boss fights before going in, as some of them actually require some coordination or knowledge of mechanics to complete them successfully. Now, previously, both Chaos Dungeons and Guardian raids were content that you could do solo, but Abyssal Dungeons are the first type of content that you have to do as a group. You have to have a party of 4, so grab some friends and just dive in. Or if your friends are not online, use this handy matchmaking thing or the find party button to get into a group. The first tier of Abyssal Dungeon will give you epic jewelry drops alongside ability stones, also some card packs, gold, books potentially, and also the Knight's Oath, which I'll say something about in just a little bit. Well, the second dungeon in the first tier of Abyssal Dungeons will also drop you all of the jewelry items, but it will also start dropping you the epic quality gear set. So it will drop you the weapon and all of the armor pieces alongside all of the jewelry pieces it was already dropping at tier 1. Again, it drops Knight's Oaths, it drops potentially ability stones, card packs, gold, and a bunch of books. Now, this is one of the more important drops in these Abyssal Dungeons. Obviously, it is nice to get your epic armor, but let's say that you gotten a little bit unlucky and you haven't gotten all of your pieces just yet, but you did drop a nice amount of Knight's Oaths. You will be able to use those as an NPC to craft your remaining parts of armor. This NPC will be recognizable on your minimap. It is this one, the Craft Abyss Equipment. That is where we're going. So this is the NPC that will help you craft the rest of your epic armor. You will notice that each of the armor parts will cost you 2 Knight's Oath, and then your weapon will cost you 5 Knight's Oath. Now, one thing you should also do after doing all of the above is, of course, using your materials to upgrade your gear, which in Lost Ark is called honing. This is done at the Gear Honing NPC, and so the way that honing or upgrading your gear works in Lost Ark is you click on an item. You need to upgrade your item. You need to basically give it EXP to be able to be upgraded, and you do that by feeding it harmony shards. Remember when I said harmony shards were important and you want to hoard as many of them as you can? This is the main reason. Your gear XP. At some point you're going to start putting a lot of crystals into each part to make it even just possible to upgrade it. So right now, let's do that. Let's upgrade this part. There we go. And you can see that now the gear honing button has lit up and I am able to upgrade this pair of pants to level 8. Now, another detail here is you will see that there is a honing success rate. Up to level 6, all of your honing has a 100% chance to succeed. So up to item level 420 is going to be easy to reach because all you need to do is gather the materials, do this, and it will automatically go to the next level. However, at this point, going from 6 to 7, going from 7 to 8 and beyond, that is when honing success rate will start dropping. Like you can see right now, if I want to upgrade this part, it's going to have a 90% chance of succeeding. What you can do, you can already see it here, is you can use Star's Breath to upgrade the percentage. I currently don't have any, so I can't really do that. Or there's also these design books that you can also use to influence the outcome of your honing. Now, I still have a 90% success rate, so I'm just gonna go ahead and see what happens. And there we go. This item has been successfully upgraded. Now, after doing all of your Chaos Dungeons, your Guardian Raids, your Abyssal Dungeons, using all of your materials to upgrade your gear, doing all of your daily quests, there is still a ton of stuff to do in the world of Lost Ark that will still bring you in really cool, really decent rewards. After all of that, you feel like I don't have anything more to do. What should I do now? I strongly recommend that you go island hopping in this game. You can see the map here. There's a ton of islands available to you. And the cool thing is almost all of these items also have some quest chains on them. And the way this system works, I think personally is really cool, is really good. Everything that you do in Lost Ark feels rewarding because the rewards are always useful. It's always either something that will upgrade the power level of your character, or it's going to be something cool that you get for your entire roster. Now, there is a lot to be said about island hopping and maximizing an efficiency in doing that and the rewards that you can get, but that again is a topic for an entirely different video, which maybe we will make later on. Now, the other alternative, of course, if you're done with everything and you don't feel like island hopping anymore, you can always start working on an alt, because alts in Lost Ark are going to be really, really useful, because having multiple characters will enable you to do Chaos Dungeons on each of these characters every day, which will then allow you to send all of those materials to your main character. And there we have it. I hope that this guide was helpful, and I hope that it makes the Lost Ark Endgame a little bit less overwhelming and a little bit more accessible for you guys. We've only scratched the surface of the content in this game. There is so much to know, there is so much to do in this game, so I'm really looking forward to making more guides for this, playing it a lot more, because I still have a lot of stuff to learn myself. But if you liked the video, please guys consider hitting that subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave a comment down below, because I would love to hear from you guys what other guides you want to see me make for this game. What do you want to know? What is confusing you? What have you not figured out yet? Let me know down in the comments below, and I will see what I can do about making a video about it. Also, feel free to drop by the stream, come say hi, ask your questions live. I'd be happy to answer them over on my Twitch stream. And that's going to be it for today, guys. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.